A stone from Tutankhamun's tomb glowed in complete darkness for 3,300 years. After its discovery, it did not fade. But 2 years later, something began to happen that no one expected. The light started to disappear. 1922, Pharaoh of the Kings, Egypt. Howard Carter stands before a sealed entrance. His hands are trembling, not from the cold, from anticipation. He makes a small opening, pushes a candle inside, looks. Someone asks him, "Do you see anything?" He answers, "Yes, wonderful things." The tomb of Tutankhamun, unlooted, 3,300 years in darkness. Among the gold, the thrones, the chariots, one object draws his attention. A pectoral ornament, complex, gold, lapis lazuli, carnelian, and in the center, a stone, yellow, honey-colored, transparent, and it is glowing. Not metaphorically, it is truly glowing, as if fire lives inside it. Carter writes in his journal, "The stone resembles an opal, but the color is unusual, yellow, almost honey-like. The light from the lantern seems frozen inside." He photographs the ornament. In the photograph, it is visible. The stone shines, clearly, brightly. The ornament is transported to the Cairo Museum. Carter continues the excavation. He finds other treasures, and then something strange begins to happen. April 5, 1923. Lord Carnarvon, the financier of the expedition, the man who paid for the search, dies in Cairo. The official cause? An infection from a mosquito bite. But there is a detail. At the moment of his death, at 1:55 a.m., the lights in Cairo go out. The entire city falls into darkness for 5 minutes. Electricians cannot explain why. And in England, at Carnarvon's estate, at that exact same moment, his dog drops dead. No visible cause. The press goes mad. "The Pharaoh's curse!" the headlines scream. Over the next few years, 6 more people connected to the tomb's discovery die. Archaeologist Arthur Mace, a heart attack. Radiologist Archibald Reed, a mysterious illness. Carter's secretary, Richard Bethel, found dead in his bed. No explanation. Then Bethel's father dies. He jumps from a window. He leaves a note. "I can no longer endure the curse." Carter laughs publicly at all of this. He tells journalists, "This is absurd, superstition." But in his private diaries, published only after his death, there are entries. "Sometimes at night, when I sit among the artifacts, I feel as if someone is watching, as if the tomb did not want to be opened. That ornament is especially strange, the one with the yellow stone. When I look at it for too long, it feels as though the stone is looking back." Carter dies in 1939, at the age of 64, of natural causes. He outlives everyone. But until the end of his life, he refuses to enter the hall of the Cairo Museum where that ornament is kept. When asked why, he simply says, "I have already given enough to the tomb." Curse or not, I don't know. But the fact remains. 1924, 2 years after the discovery. A museum curator prepares a catalog of artifacts. Everything must be photographed again, professionally, for the archive. The photographer sets up the ornament, adjusts the lights, looks through the lens, and stops. "Is this the same piece?" he asks. The curator checks the inventory number. Yes, the same one. But the stone? The stone has gone dark. Not slightly dulled, not less shiny. Gone dark. Almost gray. Dead. as if someone switched off the light inside. The curator panics. He pulls out all the photographs from 1922, compares them. In the old photos, the stone shines. In the new ones, it is dead. What happened? A chemical reaction? Oxidation? A forgery? Was the stone replaced? Or the continuation of the curse? They call in an expert, Alfred Lucas, chemist, gemologist. He worked with Carter since 1923. If anyone can explain this, it is him. Lucas takes the stone, examines it, weighs it, places it under a microscope. He is silent for a long time. Then he says, "This is not an opal." What? This is not a mineral at all. It is glass. Glass? In a pharaoh's tomb? In the most sacred ornament? Not just glass, Lucas continues. This is Libyan glass, from the desert. And here, the real story begins.
The Libyan Desert, the Great Sand Sea, the western edge of the world, where land ends and silence begins. A place where the sun hangs overhead like a judge, and at night, the cold enters the bones like the breath of Tut rising from beneath the sand. There is no water there, no shade, no roads, only dunes, higher than temples, and wind that erases footprints every night, as if humans never existed here at all. The Egyptians knew these lands, and that is why they feared them. They believed that beyond a certain boundary, the land no longer belonged to people. Only gods walked there, and the dead, and those whom no one waited for at home anymore. If you were lost there, your name would not be spoken again, and your Ka would never find the road back. And it was exactly there, in the 7th year of his reign, that Tutankhamun, the living Horus, the son of Ra, ordered an expedition to go. We know this from papyri, found centuries later in Luxor. They are dry, without detail, as if even the scribes were afraid to linger on what had happened. An expedition to the west, for the stone of the sky, for the house of eternity of the king. 30 men set out. Among them were warriors, water-bearers, slaves, and priests. And at the front of them all, a Medjay. Not a common soldier, but a desert warrior. A guardian of the borders, a guide of caravans, a man who knew oases that were never drawn on maps. They said the desert itself chose the Medjay. Those who could not listen to the wind did not return. It was he whom Tutankhamun summoned to the throne hall. The Medjay prostrated himself and waited. "Why do you seek the stone of the sky?" he asked. Because such questions are not asked of kings, but of fate. Tutankhamun was 16 years old, thin, sickly, and far too familiar with death. He remained silent for a long time, so long that the torches began to crackle louder. "The priests say," he finally spoke, "that my path is short, and when my Ka walks the road of the west, I want the light to go with me." The Medjay pressed his forehead to the stone floor. "We will find it," he said, "or the sand will cover our bones, and there will be no one left to remember our names." They left at dawn, 30 men, 12 donkeys with water, grain, skins, and amulets, and a silence heavy as stone. People watched them go. Some whispered prayers, some whispered curses. Some said, "They are going where even the gods fall silent." The first days they moved from oasis to oasis, along old Medjay routes, But with each day, the green disappeared, and the land grew whiter, as if memory itself were being burned away. On the fourth day, one of the guides stopped. He stared westward for a long time, as if listening to the ground. "We should not go farther," he said. "Beyond this lies the land of the gods' wrath. My father said, 'Whoever enters it leaves his shadow behind.'" "You may turn back," the Medjay replied. The guide smiled bitterly. "If I return alone, they will kill me for fear. If I go with you, the desert will kill me. Better to die where the gods are watching." They went on. On the eighth day, the sun turned white, not yellow, not golden, white and merciless. The sand blinded the eyes. Breathing grew shallow. One of the warriors collapsed. They gave him water, poured it over his face. A priest whispered spells. He did not rise. His heart stopped with the setting of Ra. They buried him shallowly, because the sand does not like to be disturbed. Now there were 29. On the 11th day, the sand ended. Under their feet appeared a surface that shone like a frozen lake. But it was not ice. It crunched, cut the skin, shattered into sharp edges. The Medjay lifted a fragment. It was heavy, honey yellow, semi-transparent, glass, as far as the eye could see. A priest whispered, "Here the sky fell to the earth, and the fire of the gods turned sand into stone." They walked slowly across the glass. Their feet bled. The sun reflected from the surface, and it felt as if the world were burning from below. On the 12th day, one of the slaves fell to his knees. "Water!" he screamed. "There is water!" "It is deception," the Medjay said. "Whoever runs will remain here forever." That evening, the slave disappeared. In the morning, they found him. Face down, on the glass, blood by his mouth. He had licked the ground, searching for moisture. He found none. On the 15th day, 5 more died. One man went mad, screaming that the gods were coming for him, and walked into the sand. Water remained for only a few days, and the Medjay knew. If they did not turn back, all would perish. And then the priest cried out. Before them lay a depression, like a wound in the earth. At its center, glass, countless shards, and one apart, large, honey yellow. When the sun touched it, it glowed. The Medjay took the stone. It was warm, as if alive. "This is it," the priest said, "for the Pharaoh." The way back was worse, because there was almost no water, because their strength was gone, because now they carried not only themselves, but the king's fate. 4 more died on the return. 3 simply lay down and did not rise again. 1 tried to kill his companion for water. They left him alive in the desert. His screams were heard for a long time, then only wind. 12 returned to the palace, out of 30. The Medjay carried the stone, wrapped in cloth. He guarded it like his own heart. When they entered the throne hall, burned, torn, half dead, the court froze. The Medjay fell to his knees, unwrapped the cloth. The stone shone, even in the torchlight. Tutankhamun stood, approached, took the stone in his hands. Light played inside, golden, honey-colored. "How many men?" the pharaoh asked quietly. 18, my lord." Tutankhamun looked at him, at the hands cut by glass, at the eyes that still held the desert, then back at the stone. "They gave their lives. For me? For you, son of Ra." Tutankhamun pressed the stone to his chest. "When my time comes, this light will go with me, and it will shine forever. So they will know. Their sacrifice was not in vain. He was 16 years old. 2 years later, Tutankhamun would die. 2019. A team from Cairo University is working inside the tomb. New equipment, new light, different wavelengths. What the human eye could not see begins to emerge. On the wall near the sarcophagus, signs appear. Faded, almost erased. Unreadable for centuries. The scan reveals a short text, without decoration, without explanation. 24 days of waiting, 24 nights until rebirth. At first, it does not seem unusual. But the problem is this: no standard funerary text contains such wording. They begin to search for parallels. They turn to the Book of the Dead, to the Amduat, to the Book of Gates. All of them describe the same thing: the journey of the soul after death. Trials, encounters with gods, questions, answers, and thresholds. Boundaries between worlds. They are not always counted the same way. But the meaning never changes. The soul does not pass immediately. It moves through darkness. And then it becomes clear. These 24 are not calendar days. They are time as a path. 12 hours of night and 12 hours of day. A complete cycle of the duat, the final stage before burial. That is why, during this time, the body of the pharaoh was not kept in a temple and not placed under light. It was left in darkness, because the soul was traveling through the night. And this is where the stone appears. The same one, yellow, from the desert. The stone for which 18 men never returned. It was not decoration. It was not merely an amulet. It was placed on the pharaoh's chest because it had to shine, not for the living, for the one who no longer belonged to this world. Each night, a new threshold, a new question, a new gate. And each time, the soul sees light, dim, but constant. So it does not stop. So it does not forget who it is and where it is going. The stone shone in complete darkness, not for a day, not for a year, for 3,300 years, in a sealed tomb where humidity did not change, where temperature did not fluctuate, where the air remained still. It shone. And then we opened the tomb. We let in different air, different moisture, different pressure. A world that had existed in balance for millennia collapsed in a single day, and the stone went dark. Alfred Lucas later wrote in his report, "Glass is hygroscopic. It retains a specific moisture structure in a sealed space, stable. After opening, it dries. The structure changes. The optical effect disappears. A scientific explanation. Logical. Correct. But the inscriptions did not disappear. 24 nights, and if we go back. 1323, a night hall of the temple. A stone table. The body of Tutankhamun, wrapped in linen. A golden mask covers his face. On his chest, an ornament. At its center, a yellow stone. It glows, dimly, but enough to push back the shadow. A priest stands at the entrance, whispering a prayer. The first gate, where day becomes night. The guardian asks, "Why are you here?" "Because I walk toward the light." He is allowed to pass. The doors close. The body remains in darkness. Only the stone glows. On the fourth night, the priest writes in his journal, "The stone still shines, its brightness unchanged." The fourth gate, where souls lose memory of life. The guardian asks, "What was your name?" Many souls cannot answer. They forget, and remain there forever. But our Pharaoh remembers, because the light reminds him. The 12th night, The most important one. The priest writes longer than usual. The 12th gate, the hall of the two truths. The scales stand there. On one pan, the heart of the dead. On the other, the feather of truth. If the heart is heavier, a demon devours it. Forever. If it is lighter or equal, the soul passes on. The priest pauses, then adds a personal note. Our king was young. He ruled for only 9 years. He did not have time to commit great evil. His heart is pure. I know this, but I still pray that the scales tilt in his favor. He leaves the temple, looks at the star-filled sky, whispers a prayer for an 18-year-old boy walking through darkness. On the 18th night, something changes. The priest enters the chamber in the morning to check, and he notices it. The stone glows differently, not weaker, differently, as if it pulses, slowly, as if it breathes. The priest falls to his knees. He understands. The soul is on the other side. The stone feels it. He writes with a trembling hand, the 18th gate, where the soul meets those it loved. Our king meets his father, his mother, his children who died as infants, and the 18 warriors, those who died in the desert for the stone. They are waiting for him. By the gate, they say, "You have come, son of Ra. We lit the path for you." And the stone answers. It pulses, like a heart. On the 23rd night, the priest barely sleeps. 1 night left, the final gate. He enters the chamber. The stone still glows, but it seems to be waiting. The priest whispers, the 23rd gate, the gate of choice. The guardian says, "You may return to life, to the world of the sun, but you will return as a mortal, without power, without memory." Many souls choose to return because they are afraid. But the Pharaoh looks at the stone glowing in his hands and says, "No, I go on, because 18 souls gave their lives so I could have this light. I will not betray them." He steps through the gate. On the 24th night, the priest enters the chamber at midnight. This is forbidden, but he cannot wait. He looks at the stone, and the stone flares. For 1 second, brightly, like a small sun. Then it returns to its dim glow. The priest weeps. He knows what has happened. The 24th gate, the last one, the most sacred, beyond it. The bark of Ra. The solar boat that crosses the sky each day. The soul approaches. Ra asks, "Why should I take you?" The soul shows the stone, still glowing. "Because I carried light through darkness for 24 nights. I did not forget. I did not lose my way. I remembered the sun." Ra smiles. "Then come aboard, son. You are home." The soul steps onto the bark. The stone flares one last time and goes dark. The priest leaves the chamber. In the morning, they seal the tomb. They bury the stone with the Pharaoh in complete darkness for 3,300 years. But the stone had done its work. It shone for 24 nights. The soul did not lose its way. Now it may rest. The Cairo Museum, Hall Number 3. Tutankhamun's ornament under glass. Every day, millions of tourists walk past it. The stone is dull, almost gray. Most people don't even notice it. But there is a guard. Ahmed, 67 years old. He has worked here for 40 years. One day a tourist asks him, "Why is the stone so dull? Was it always like this?" Ahmed looks at the ornament for a long time. Then he says, "My grandfather worked here in the 1920s, when the ornament was first brought in. He used to tell me, for the first 2 years, the stone glowed so brightly that at night When everyone had gone home, it cast a shadow on the floor, as if a candle were burning inside it. The tourist laughs. Your grandfather was joking. Ahmed does not smile. No, he says. He was not joking. And then the stone began to fade, slowly, year after year, as if it were being exhausted. Do you believe that? The tourist asks. Ahmed shrugs. I've worked here for 40 years, and a few times a year. When the sunlight enters at a certain angle through the window, the stone flares up, for a second, maybe two, as if it remembers. The tourist doesn't know what to say. Ahmed keeps looking at the stone. You know what I think, he says quietly. For over 3 millennia, in absolute darkness, it burned for a boy king, so he wouldn't lose his way through the night. 18 warriors fell in the desert to bring it back. 6 more died after we broke the seal. Coincidence, perhaps. Or maybe the stone had finished its work. Maybe when the Pharaoh crossed that final threshold and stepped into Ra's light, it was finally released. Maybe it simply had nothing left to give. The tourist leaves. Ahmed stays. He looks at the stone, and the stone, gray, nearly dead, lies silent beneath the glass. But sometimes, once in a great while, when Cairo grows dark, when the hall's empty, when the sun drops at precisely the right angle, the stone flares, just once, as if to whisper, I remember. I was fire. I gave my word. I held the light through 24 thresholds, across 33 centuries. I burned. Those who fell in the sand trusted me. I could not abandon them. But now, I have earned my silence.